Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining. Let me explain you what we are going to do today. We are going to discuss decision tree for predictive modeling. So in this session, we are going to learn decision tree, and that for a purpose like how do we use the predictive modeling. So how many of you are aware of predictive modeling? And how many of you probably will like to know first time? Will understand this first time. So all of you, are you familiar with predictive modeling? Okay, good. So it looks like there are, for some of you, like you are already familiar with the predictive modeling, but for some of you it's like first time. So let me give you one line and then we'll also see it through example. So what is predictive modeling all about? Modeling, or you call it model, it's a replica of the real world scenario. So it's a replica of, it represents the real world. Like you see a small, prototype or a small, Taj Mahal, and you call it's a model of Taj Mahal because it represents the real Taj Mahal. Similarly, at times, you would have seen demand and supply curve in the education. That represents a real world scenario. So model is all about which represents a real world scenario. And what is predictive modeling? Predictive modeling is all about when you're trying to predict a real world phenomena. So why do we need to predict something? How does it help? So we'll understand this very soon in a minute. So let me just walk you through that what we are going to discuss today. So in this session, we are going to discuss that why do you need a predictive model and how does a decision tree look like? What are the components of decision tree, and what is the advantage of decision tree in a business scenario? First and foremost, why should we learn that? What is the advantage of learning that? Then how do you use decision tree technique in the business? What are the key decision tree features? And then at the ends, we are also going to discuss about this particular course, that what is the framework of the course? What are the things that is getting covered in the course? So let's get started. There seems like a question, just let me take a look. Okay, fine. In between, if any time any of you have question, just raise your hand or write in the chat box, and I'll be able to understand that you are asking a question. But let's start with the business need, because why do we need a predictive model? What kind of thing that we are trying to predict? So let's understand that. That will help us a lot to remain interested with the course. So first, let's talk about a scenario. So let's say there is a scenario where you sent mailer to 100,000 prospect. So you sent mailer to 100,000 prospect, and how many ultimately took your product? 1,000. So what is the response rate? How many people, what kind of percentage of people are taking your product? Are all of you are able to hear me? Because I get some people saying that they are not able to hear me. Are you able to hear me? Very good. So I can see somebody is answering. So probably you guys understood, what is the kind of response. So the response rate is 1%, because out of 100,000 prospect, you sent your offers to 100,000 prospect, but ultimately who took you? Only 1,000 took your product. So now think of this way, that if the cost of sending was $2, so you spent how much? You spent $200,000, and how many customer you got? 1,000. So essentially you spent $200 to get just one customer. $2, 100 rupees for the prospect. For each prospect you sent the offer detail in very glossy kind of thing with probably a CD, and ultimately only 1,000 took it. So for acquiring one customer you spent 200, correct? Because your total cost is how much? 200,000, correct? $2 per person, so 200,000. And how many took the product? Only 1,000. So 200,000 divided by 1,000, how much it is coming? $200 per customer, correct? Correct? So if you think of it is such a cost, and your product, the profitability of the product may be just $50. In that case, you are negative from the day one. If the profitability of the product is say $100, even in that case you are negative from day one, because you spent $200 just acquiring one customer, correct? So in that case, the business is quite unhappy. It's such a poor response rate, 1%. Out of 100,000, only 1% is responding. So they ask you a question that can you find a base by working on less number of prospect, just probably 20,000 prospect, we can get almost all the responder. So what they are saying that if at all you have to get only 100,000 prospect customer, why are you sending it to 100,000 people? Why can't you send just to few people and get all 100,000, right? That's the demand, right? So how can you do that? So probably what you are asking, can by working on just say 20,000 prospect, you can get all 900 responder? So if you think of, if you would have taken 20% of these prospects randomly, means 20,000 prospect, you would have got 200 responder, correct? Only 200, right? If you are taking 200 people, 200, 20% of the prospect, you will get 20% of the responder, 200 customers. But what you are talking, you are trying to get all 1,000 customer, correct? Let me repeat. I'm sorry, it looks like that control is not showing, and that's why I'm little struggle here. Maybe it's the by design. Let me just go ahead and do once again. So are you guys able to hear me? Because I somehow the control has gone. I'm just trying to ask you once again before I proceed. So are you guys able to hear me? See it properly? At least one responder so that I know that okay, it's working. Hello? Are you guys able to hear me? Looks like there is some issue here. Let me just see what is happening here. This network is connected properly. I don't know what is happening here. Bardhan, are you there? Bardhan, are you there?
He's saying you are not shared the video. Bardhan called up. He's saying that he can't see the video.
Cute.
Show it to him. He wants the confirmation.
Yeah, it's not the screen doesn't appear like coming. You are not able to see, right? The screen. But what is happening, I don't know, because I have like logged in and I started showing the screen, and it is it is not even giving me control. Like it's like not letting me highlight also that so my screen can it's dim. Maybe you can take control and then give me that. Yeah. Sorry. Which option? In the screen sharing, it's dim. No one can see. Click on the start sharing, but it's not letting me. It's saying change presenter, make another attendee the presenter kind of thing is only highlighted. Rest everything is just gone. Yeah. How do I do that? Because I'm here. It's screen sharing is dimmed. There is no presenter. It's coming. Let me make presenter myself. Okay, I think now it should come because it's saying no presenter. Now I selected myself as the predictive presenter. Will it come? I don't know it's coming or not. Are you guys able to hear me or see me anything? What are you saying? Which options? Stop. No, no, I didn't press anything like that. Should should I try again? Start the broadcast. Which option is that? Option view. Correct. Okay, yeah, so here there are, like there is a stop sharing, there is change presenter, which is that the only thing highlighted. Should I do make you and then you make me? Because I select myself, okay. Can you see my screen now? So, am I the presenter? Are you able to see me? Okay, good. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. Hi, everyone. First of all, apology. I don't know why, but somehow this whole panel has become dim and I was not able to share my screen. Apologize for the inconvenience caused. It has taken just 10 minutes. Are you guys able to see now? Team, are you able to see now? Oh, very good, very good. So sorry. So let's get started. And just keep, like I'll keep asking in between because I'm too worried that, when it will go again. So let me just try this time. So think of what we are saying that, you sent your offers to 100,000 people and how many ultimately took it? Only 1,000, right? So it became extremely costly because it became $200 because you spent 200,000 just to get 1,000 customer. So $200 just to get one customer. And your management is too unhappy. They are thinking, why the hell you spent so much amount? If you had to get only 1,000, can you send to few people and still get almost all the responder? So they are saying, a hypothetical question that can you send, just 20,000 people and can get almost all 900 responder. Looks like there is a question. Let me see what is the question here. I don't know who's asking. What is the question here? Someone has asked me, right? Some question. Okay, anyway. So you have got, someone is saying that can by working on 20,000 people, you can get all 900 responders. How do you do that? How do you get that? That's what is the technique of predictive modeling. So in the predictive modeling, what you are trying to do, that you are trying to work on few people, like a small proportion of the population, and still trying to get almost all the responder. Keep in mind, there are people like who can say you that, can't you work on only, give me only 1,000 guys like who will respond, who will take my product? That's not a possibility. All said and done, what you're trying to do, what you will be doing ultimately, that you will be trying to find a pattern that these are the set of people who have high chance of response. Among them also, there are certain things which never gets captured. For example, if people are staying in the same area, they have same kind of lifestyle. Among them also, probably few people will go for a new handset of Samsung, but not all. And why not all will go? Because because probably one person has lost his his has broken his screen. One person has probably dropped his mobile in the in the swimming pool. This kind of information is not getting captured. If probably someone can get the data of the bank, probably his Facebook detail, his his discussion with many people, and then can get data, then probably he can probably work on just 10,000 prospect and get probably all 1,000. But as of now, the possibility that if someone is saying that give me only 1,000 guys who will take the product is next to impossible. So what you are trying to say that ultimately we will try to get a small proportion of the population and try to get almost all, not all, almost all, so about 900 950 responder, so that you get much bigger response rate. Because if you think in this case your expense will be $40,000 and you will get 900 people, so expense per person will come out somewhere around 40, 42, 45 kind of. That is a far better scenario than spending $200 just to get one customer, right? Am I clear? Team, am I clear? Just do let me know, am I clear or not? Because only then I know that it's like making sense or not. Okay, good, very good. So let's go ahead now. So what is the predictive modeling? What is a model all about? Model is trying to predict a particular behavior. A model is trying to predict, in this case, it's a response model, that among the prospect, who are the guys who will take your product, correct? And obviously there is a good lift. There is a great advantage if you can do that. Why? Because by working on only 20,000 prospect, you can get almost all the responder. That's what you are trying to do. Okay, so there is a question that how the cost dropped to $45. So how it dropped? Understand this way. You work on 20,000 prospect. So how much, what is the cost per person? What is the cost of sending offers, mailers? $2. So 20,000 into 2. What is your total cost? 440,000, correct? Now think of how many responders you got? 900. So for each responder, how much you spent? $40,000 divided by 900. That will come out ultimately, yeah, right. It will be less than $50, but it will be more than 40, because 400 divided by 9 will be, more than 40, but less than 50, because 50 would have made it 450 kind of. Am I clear? Good, very good, thanks. So 40,000 divided by 900, that's what gives you the cost per person. So in this case, in lieu of spending $200 per customer, you're spending much lesser, and that's the advantage. And that's the reason predictive modeling is high in demand. People love to know how can they apply predictive modeling. So now let's go ahead. So if you think of what did you try to do, you had N population and K responder. What you try to do, you try to work on X% of the population and you try to get Y% of the responder. And ultimately, what do you want? You want Y to be bigger than X. So essentially think of in our scenario, what we did, we worked on 20% of the population, and how many you got? 90% of the responder, because there were 1,000 responder, right? 1,000 responder, 900 responder means 90%. So if you think of by working on 20% of the population, you got 90% of the responder. Till the time this is bigger, you know that model is working. Obviously, if it is happening this way, the other way, 1 minus X% of the population will be remaining in other area, and 1 minus Y%. So essentially 80% of the population and 10% of the responder will get left over into the other area. So if you're going in this area and you are selecting those 20,000 where 900 responder is there, obviously you are leaving 80,000 prospect in which there will be 100 responder, correct? Right or wrong? Good. So now let's go ahead and move from here. So if you represent, lot of things, and this is the terminology, and there are many softwares which show you result like this. you show results in such a way that all those guys who are responding, it's, you show it a red, and all those guys who are not responding, you show it a blue. When they are mixed, they are looking like a green. But when the concentration of responder increases, when a Y is more, when there are more responders, obviously they will look red, and when there are more non-responders, they will look blue, right? So let me repeat here. If you try to show non-responders as blue and responders as red, they're, total altogether, they are looking good mix of red and blue, probably green. But the moment the percentage of red increases, here there is more responder, the whole bucket will look red, and there where there is less responder, they will look like blue, right? This is the concept of RGB, and in the red zone, you have more response rate. If you think of, you had 90% responded by working on only 20% of the population. And in this, the leftover population, you're working on 80% of the population, and you are all getting only 10% of the responders. So that's a blue zone. Now, you'll work on red zone or blue zone, that will depend on the situation. If you are looking at response model, obviously you will work on red zone. Is it clear? Is it clear? Okay, for most of you it's clear. There is one guy who is little confused. Let me just repeat it once. So if at all you show responder as red and non-responder as blue, let's say, show them like think them like balls. So in the whole population, when whole the red and blue are mixed, it will look like a green. But the moment you go here, you have more responders. You have only 20% of the population and 90% of the responders, so it will look more red. The other side, you have too much of population, 80% of the population, and only 10% of the responders. So it will look like blue, correct? Okay. Yes, you'll get access to the recording as well. Fine. So let's go now. Let's understand the decision tree example, and let's understand the anatomy of decision tree. So what is a decision tree? So decision tree, it's all about dividing the population in such a way so that you have more response rate in one area and less response rate in another area, so that you can decide on whom to work. So let me show you an example of decision tree. So let's say you started with the population which has 30% bad and 70% good. So what you did, you had your population, if you're sending it to bureau, ultimately you are getting 30% people are coming as no rating, like bad rating, and 70% are getting as good rating. Now, if you think of sending to bureau is a cost, and you spend some amount just to get creditworthiness check for each customer, correct? So then what to do? So let's run it through decision tree. So I'm showing you an output which you essentially, like, if at all you do the course, you'll develop it during the course. So how the output will look like? So if you're sending, let's say you have, probably if you have 100,000 customer, if you're sending to, if the $5 is the cost of per person, you have spent $5,000. Can you save it? Can you send record only to those guys, for whom you suspect they will be negative? Or, can you do something? So let's see how we took it. So what you are doing, this is like, you started and you made a decision tree. In decision tree, what it says, that look for the checking account. If they have more than one checking account, it's like it says 1.5 or greater. They are saying that, here is 83% is good. So essentially this is a zone where most of the people are getting good credit rating. So you don't need to send it. Then saying all those guys who are checking account is less than, it's actually less than is 1 or 0. For them, look at duration. If their duration of relationship is less than 22.5 months, again, then you have probably 60% of the people, more than 60% of the yes. The other guys who has duration more than 22.5, look at how many saving accounts they have. If they have more than 2 saving accounts, means 3 or more, again their good percentage around 65. But the other guys, who has good duration, but still the saving account is less than 2.5, means 2 or 1 or 0. These are the guys, if you think of here, you have too much of white. Means like, actually, like if you think of more than 60% is white. So this is the guy where, most of the people are getting bad rating. We are showing white as no. Look at here, right? We are showing white as no. So here you have too many no, means there are too many guys who are getting bad rating. So think of, what do you do after getting bad rating? You ask bad people to submit some kind of document. You say that you submit this document, that document. Can we ask selectively these guys that you show me the document? Only if you have the document, I'll send your letter for the processing to bureau, right? In that case, probably, and these are the guys where those are okay. So these are the guys where you are maximum suspect, and you will send only of those guys who have submitted some documents to you. So in that case, you will save money because the documents are with you, and you know that those guys who have not been able to furnish document, they will not proceed anyway. If there are guys who can be given loan based on document, again, that's good enough. So essentially, if you look at, this is the set of guys where you like to work on, correct? Right or wrong? Very good. So the point that I'm trying to say, that if you think of what we did, we started with a base which has 30% and 70%. And ultimately we got to a base where, here there most of the people are yes. And here there most of the people are no. So we're working on selectively. We can actually save money. We can ask these guys that we'll process your document only if we'll send your letter for the credit bureau check only if you have given some documents. So in this case, this will help you in saving. So what you have done, you started with a base rate and you created differential. Here you have more of yes, more of no, and here you have more of yes. These two are similar to the base. So if you think of in this node, this is called the root node. In this decision tree, these are called the leaf node. Each of these are called path. Like if you call, this is a path which says check account less than 1.5, right? Duration greater than 22.5. This is second thing. And what is the third thing? Saving account less than equal to 2.5. It's just a typo, so ignore it. So this is what is called path, correct? This is a typical example of a decision tree. Decision tree of two kinds, classification tree and regression tree. What you are seeing right now here is the example of a classification tree. The node which are at the final node are called the leaf node. Am I clear? Am I clear? Guys, you need to respond to me, only then I'll get to know I'm clear or not. Very good, very good. So I can see like most of you are clear. So let's move now. So think of, we started with 70%, we created differential node, 87, 65, 71, 37. Here, you think node size is written here, everywhere. What is the node size? And what is the depth? Depth is the maximum length of the tree. So it is 1, 2, 3. This is called the depth of the tree. The depth of the tree is 3. So now, what is the gain of this tree? So if you think of like this tree, again I'm showing in a different way because here you can see clearly these are the leaf nodes, and here again it is showing this is 3 level, depth is 3. So what is the gain of the decision tree? What gain we are achieving by making decision tree? Why did we make this? So let's take a look what gain we achieved. So here we started with 70% of the population, 70% of yes, 30% as no, right? This was the rate here. And we wanted to create something like that, where there is more red and one side there is more blue. If you think of what you did, if you represent it like, black or blue and this is red, if you're getting this zone like this where you have too many reds, this you will call a red zone. And if you're getting another side where there is too many blue or black, you're calling it blue zone. Correct? This is what the concept that we were trying to do. So what decision tree did? Take a look what it did. If you think of, we started with 70%, and if you think of here, there is too many yes. If at all you are trying to predict yes, there is too many yes here, because 87% is yes. Here these are like similar to what your the base rate, and this is a blue zone. Why? Because if you think of yes, there are very few yes here, 37% only yes, 63% is no, right? So this is your blue zone where the response rate is much lesser, correct? Are you clear with this color concept? This is red zone, this is blue zone, and these are similar to the base rate, right or wrong? Very good. So all of you are clear. So let's move on. So what is the business application of a decision tree? What advantage we are getting? So among the prospect, if at all we find, if at all, let's say if this is the prospect and we create something like this group, and we know who are, and let's say this time we are trying to forecast default, that who are the guys who will default, who are the guys who will not default. So among the prospect, if you have to give loan, and let's say, this comes as a red zone, here there are more guys like who will default. In that case, by avoiding loan to this set of guys, you can save money, correct? Think of, this time I'm talking of a different scenario. I'm giving you different examples, different business application of a decision tree. So if at all you are trying to predict default, what is default? So what is default? So you give loan and somebody does not pay you. Those who are not paying you, that's a default. So if at all this is a default, base rate, and you got to know here there is too many people who will default, and here too less people who will default. You like to give loan to this set of guys, right? You'll not like to give loan to this set of guys because there will be too many default and you will get the loss, correct? Yes, very good. So all of you are clear. So that's very good. You are responsive people. So it makes me easy to, so think of like, if at all you have another set of guys, like among patients, like, if you have many patients, and among patients, again, you can create that who will respond better with such treatment. Let's say, you had the many cancer patients and you gave a particular kind of medicine. And then you got a people like, where there are too many people who responded and became good. And there are this set of people who was not at all affected. Then going forward, if at all you have no other option, then you like to give medicine to only this set of customer, right? Because they are responding to the treatment. So if at all you have a patient profile who will respond better with such treatment, by putting rest of them into another kind of treatment, you will save, right? You will not get be able to save many people. So why? Because you gave only to those people who are getting advantage. You will again create a profile, probably, age like this, gender like this, area like this, the stage of cancer like this. They will get good advantage of this product, this treatment, and that's why they will respond better. So only this kind of guy is the guy whom you like to give this kind of treatment. For other guy, you would like to try some other treatment, correct? So that's a business scenario, right? Where in the medical scenario also you can apply this technique, correct? Team, please respond. Are you able to hear me, understand me? So how you can apply in medical science? In medical science, very good. So okay, like you have understood, so I must again proceeding. Now think of a scenario. Among customer, if you know who are the guys who will attract and go to someone else. Let's say you have a mobile, you're probably, let's say, Reliance. And let's say you can figure out who are the guys who will go to Airtel. Then, probably by targeting such customers and giving them some offer that, if you continue with me for 6 months, your 1 month, probably, your 1 month will be waived or something. You will be able to reduce the attrition rate, correct? If you have who are the, if you know who are the guys who are going to attract, who are the guys who are going to go to some other subscriber, and you target them and you give offer only to them, you can save them from attracting. Correct? Correct? Oh yeah, fine. Now think of another scenario. If at all, among the applicants, you get to know these are the set of guys, probably, I mean, there was one case like, people got to know that in Mumbai, probably the loan that is originating, the application which is originating from a particular area, and that too with, for this kind of product, and with this kind of product who are only giving probably as a document only the mobile bill, these are the set of guys where there is a very high chance of application fraud, where probably somebody is trying to portray like you and trying to get loan. If at all you could figure out them, then you can avoid lot of loss from the account takeover fraud cases. Why? Because these are the set of guys where there is a high chance of fraud. So you will also do a lot of verification. You'll say, show me this, show me that, so that if at all there is a chance of fraud, you can avoid it. Correct? Right? I mean, think of the another example. This is again, all examples. This is from medical science. This is probably from telecom. Now you are talking one scenario where like a application fraud from credit card scenario. Correct? Right. So now think of another scenario. Many a times, let's say SBI wants to take home loan. All those people who have home loan running from HDFC. HDFC also sends you switch your home loan to this company and save 0.1%. Corporation Bank, also tries to do. Everybody wants to take over, grow their own business. But if at all you could figure out that among the home loan population, that those guys who are giving this kind of home loan rate and are at this kind of income range and are of this kind of age group, they will change. These are the set of guys who will never change. Then by working on only few prospects, because you'll not work on all 100,000, you'll work on probably 10,000 guys, and still you will be able to get almost all the people who will take your home loan. So you'll grow your portfolio very fast. Probably if you have capacity of calling only 10,000 guys, you'll focus on only those guys who has the high chance of taking the product. Correct? Correct? Right. So these are different scenario. If at all you take the whole base and you could find these are the red zone where there are more responder, these are the blue zone where more responder, and you can divide method of working on them differentially, then you can seriously grow your business faster at an effective rate. Similarly, among the current base, if you have a base and who are the guys probably who will move into delinquency. Delinquency means these are the guys who are not paying you from last 30 days or from last 60 days they have not paid you. These are called delinquent customer. So if at all you could figure out who are the guys who are not going to pay you, and you can reduce their credit limit proactively, obviously you will reduce losses from them. Correct? You'll reduce losses and exposure from them. That will again give you saving. Correct? That will be very beneficial. So these are the real life scenario of the business where decision tree helps you. The decision tree, the advantage of decision tree is, what are the key decision tree features? Why you should learn decision tree? There are 3-4 things which makes it very interesting. First of all, there are many things in decision tree like data design, model design. These are the things which are very common. Very similar, you'd apply either logistic regression, that is called credit scoring, or you apply decision tree. It is same, but where probably decision tree gives you advantage that it has automatic field selection. So essentially it can handle any number of field and it automatically selects the relevant field. So essentially you are not working very hard for the variable selection. You don't need to know a lot of technique and a lot of output. You don't need to know really the principal component analysis and how to deal with multicollinearity. Decision tree is very good in that sense because it has automated field selection and it is little fast. Also, it requires little data processing. Whilst I will refrain myself from saying no data processing, because no data processing scenario can probably give you an output which you will not like. So it requires little data processing And also it is, it doesn't get affected by outlier. Why? Because outliers, like, when you're dealing as a number, it affects. But because when you're making it a class, you're saying 50 plus. So anything bigger than 50, you're just treating as a group. In that case, you're not affected by the actual value. That's why does not get affected by the outlier, because at the end of the day in decision tree you make bucket. I mean, think of what you're doing. Checking account greater than equal to 2.5. So even if it is 10 or 15, you're not taking actual value. You're just taking it is greater than 2.5 or not, correct? Okay. Yeah, this is the slide 36, so don't worry on that. So what I'm trying to say, that what are the key features of decision tree? It automatically field selection. It handles any number of field. It automatically selects a relevant field. You require to do little data processing. It does not require any kind of variable transformation. It does not get affected by outlier. It is missing value tolerant. You don't have to deal with missing value. Also, you don't need to know the principal component analysis or VIF, all those things to develop a good decision tree. It's a quick development and validation. So it's easy to do, and it has got real good application into the business. Trust me, in most of the scenario, decision tree works and works fantastic. It works, it gets applied, it gets used, and it is easy to explain, because like if you're presenting it to your customer, your business folks, they understand it very well, that where is the red zone, where is the blue zone, and they know that, okay, this set of guys, let's go again. If you have only few people to call, probably these are the set of guys you will be calling. So that's why it's a very heavily used technique in the industry. Very nice question. So somebody has asked, like, how do you decide on the splitting criteria? How does decision tree actually work? So let me talk very quickly about this course, because that will give you like what we are going to talk. There is a course like, on which we are going to talk about the decision tree, in which we'll be talking from the industrial point of view. So essentially, like, you will go, once you go through the course, it will prepare you to apply decision, develop decision tree in the industrial scenario. That how do you develop in the industry, how do you validate, and how do you implement in the decision tree. Also, as well as that, it prepares you from the interview point of view, because there are certain questions which are asked in the interview. One of the very popular question is that, how do you select the splitting criteria, how do you select, how do you cut. So essentially, when you are asking splitting criteria, there are two questions. If there are hundreds of numeric variable, let's say, you have age you have, let's say, age is distributed from 18, you have 18 years, 18.5, 19 years, 20, 25, anything, it is going up to say 75. How do you know that age less than 30 or age less than 35 or age less than 36? How do you know? How do you create the bucket? And similarly, you can have age, you can have income, you can have probably spend in last 12 months. How do you know which variable and where to cut it? This is a question, right? You have hundreds of options. For each variable, you have hundreds of options. Age you can cut at 18, at 19, at 20, at 20.5, at 24.5. Income you can cut at 10,000, 11,000, 15,000, 20,000. So you have so many options. In reality, if each variable you are cutting at 100 times, and if you have 100 variables, you actually have 100 into 100 permutation combinations possible. And similarly, if you have, categorical variable, let's say A, B, C, you can take A, B, B, C, so you have too many, A, C, and you can keep separate. So how do you know which cut to take? Among all these cut, how do you decide that which one to take first? All those things are very interview kind of questions, and which will get covered in this course. You'll also learn what is the predictive modeling terminology. So essentially, this course is not about just developing quickly in R. In this course, you learn terms which are used in the business. For example, historical window, performance window. How do you decide that you should look at 6-month window or you should look at 12-month window? How do you know what is the right size of performance window? So these are the things for this which will prepare you. So let me show you, and So what are the things that you will learn in this course? In this course, you will learn the business need, usage of a model. You will learn the chaos, Kolmogorov-Smirnov statistics, because that's a very business term. You will learn how to calculate and use it. In fact, in an Excel sheet, you will put the data and you will calculate on your own so that you can understand what is chaos all about. There is a module 2 where we will talk about how do you design historical window, performance window, how do you perform vintage analysis to decide that you should take performance as of 14 months or 16 months or 18 months or 24 months. So all these things you are going to do in module 2. In module 3, we will learn how do you do the audit of data, how do you understand the output, so how do you check the numeric variable, how do you check the categorical variable, how do you check the by the group by kind of thing in, and how do you interpret it. So you will see the code, you will see the output, and you will see the interpretation. These are the things you will be showing some sample data directly on R, and you will interpret the output in such. Then you will also see, understand if there is a missing value. If there are certain data which has missing value, how do you treat it? If there are certain things which are going, too much, like, probably say age, it's coming at, 195. How do you cap it? When do you cap it? How do you treat missing value? How do you cap missing value? That will be discussed in part 3, module 3. Then the question that I was explaining, that how does the algorithm work? What is Gini of a node? What is Gini of a split? How do you understand the output of the decision tree? How do you measure the strength of the classification? All those things will be explained in module 4. In module 5, we will understand this even more deeper, because here you'll be getting an assignment, data where you are supposed to do something and share in the next class. In the next class, we'll go through that again and we'll answer those questions. And we will understand what is the practice of industry. How do they develop decision tree? How do they validate? And how do they use it? This will cover the actual application of decision tree. This is how you learn the development and usage. But there are certain things which are important from the interview point of view. Like, sometimes people will ask you regression tree. The regression tree, there are, if at all your dependent variable is numeric, let's say spend amount, like the spend amount, how would you use profit amount, which is numeric variable? Can you use decision tree in that? Answer is yes. This is what is called regression tree. So how will you develop regression tree? How will you understand the strength of the decision tree? What is the difference between regression tree and linear regression? What is pruning? What is auto pruning? How do you do that in R? All those things you learn in module 6. In module 7, we will go through the CHAID algorithm. CHAID is the name of chi-square automatic interaction detector. This thing classification tree is called CA and regression tree is called R. That's why this whole technique is called CARD. So this is CHAID, this is CARD. So you learn CHAID and CARD. You will understand chi-square very well. You will become comfortable and you will know how to use it in the decision tree. And in the last section, we will understand several things like what is entropy, what is ID3, what is random forest method, how do you use it, all those things. So by doing this course, and by working on assignment here and here, you will not only understand the complete modeling technique, but you will also understand how do you develop decision tree, how do you interpret the output, and how do you implement in the real life scenario. You will not just learn that, okay, this is the code and this decision tree gets developed. You will learn its practical usage and all those things. So it will make you extremely comfortable. Looks like there are some folks have asked questions, so let me take some questions. So there are questions like somebody has asked you, can you please share something about gain or lift in this for decision tree? That is calculated using KS, and we will show you. So in the coursework, we will develop decision tree and then we'll punch in these data in Excel and we will calculate that how much lift we are getting. One question is that for what type of job profile this skill is useful? Anywhere where people are asking for analytics job, predictive modeling is very high in demand. So wherever there is a demand of predictive modeling, in fact, like if you go through the requirement of predictive modeling, you will find sometimes people putting in the criteria itself, CHAID, CARD, people should know CHAID, CARD. So obviously this course will enable you to apply for that kind of course. And what is the prerequisite of this course? I should say prerequisite of this course is that you should know basic R. Here also a lot of things of R will get covered, but do not expect it to be a R course, because here only of those things of R will be covered which are pertaining to decision tree. If you ask me like many things of R, probably this is not the course. This course is more of the modeling. This course is more of the analytics. And here only that portion of R will be explained which is pertaining to decision tree, not the everything of decision tree. What are the complete course one should learn to become data scientist? Data scientist, I should say for that, people should know how to read data, how to interpret data, and statistics. So I should say, if you are knowing R, if you are knowing SAS, or if you are knowing how to apply it in the real scenario, if you are knowing econometrics, then you are there. Will this course have the R basic on LMS? This course will also have the R component. When I'm going and talking here, I will explain you how to do data audit. I'll provide code, I'll provide the output. I will also provide how to install R and all those things. But what I'm just trying to say, that do not expect this course to be completely on R. This will be more on modeling. This will cover few topics of R. This will cover few codes of R which are relevant for the decision tree. I can't answer a lot of questions of R. It will be more of analytics technique that I'll explain you. More of modeling, that in real life scenario, how do you develop the data? Only if you have developed a good data, your modeling makes sense. Otherwise, everything is called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So how will you develop a model which makes sense? How will you develop your data which can be used for the modeling? So here it will be all about lot of practical things, that how do you design the data? How do you audit the data that you can understand this data is good enough for the purpose? And only that portion of the R code will be explained which are pertaining to decision tree, not of like logistic regression, or not at all related with neural network or all those things. This here only those codes of R will be explained which are pertaining to this particular project, decision tree development. Let me see if there are other questions. So looks like some other folks have raised some questions. Will you like to put your question in the question box? I can answer. I think I can see 5 of you have raised your hand. I'm just going to the questions so that I can answer the questions one by one. Guys, I'll request all of you to put your question in the question box so that I can answer them. So this course will come with the data. Yes, this course will come with the data. You are supposed to work on the data. Does the participant need to know R language already? No. It will cover the basic R. It will cover the R course which are pertaining to this course. So what I'm trying to say, that understand this way, that this is not completely on each and everything of R, but whatever R pertaining to this course, that will get covered very comfortably in a step-by-step manner. That what you are doing with each line of R and how are you interpreting each line of output, that you will understand. So all of the R code which are pertaining to decision tree, you will understand fairly well. Am I clear? What is bagging and boosting in decision tree? Very good question. Bagging and boosting, you can say it's a type of validation technique. This is how you ensure that your decision tree will work over time. It will not just one time. You are learning it, and this will be part of the curriculum. When I'm explaining you this explanation here you'll be having in one place, I'll be explaining you the k-fold validation and all those things, which are, I should say, same as does predictive modeling in any way used along with R or Spark? I should say these are like more of a computer science skill, Hadoop and Spark, whereas Hadoop and Spark prepares the data. On that, the predictive modeling is another, I should say it's more in the statistics and econometric side. Hadoop and Spark prepares you data. Ultimately, you need to know that how using that data you can develop the model. So I should say these are little different skill. Hadoop and Spark goes towards the IT side, creating the infrastructure, creating the platform, whereas predictive modeling is that how will you use that data to develop a predictive stuff. Any other question that you guys have? Vardhan, can we wrap the class? Yes, there are more opportunities. I mean, if you go in the Naukri and if you put shade and cart, you'll find lot of job opening, because this is the shade and cart that people expect you to know and people expect you to understand this output. When you go in the interview, people expect you to understand that how will you use this output. So on that perspective, this is a good course. So, Vardhan, can I stop here? I guess we can wrap the session now. These skill profile are more useful for analytics role. You look at analytics, you'll find shade cart in great demand. Yes, I guess if at all you could do shade and cart, you can really master it. You can actually get it, because these are relatively high paying job. These are relatively more, you get better paid than probably, uh, you know, in the general IT role or in other kind of area. Analytics is really on high demand. So yeah, there is some kind of hike that you can expect. So all right, guys, let me wrap the session now. And do take a look at the curriculum, and if at all you find it interesting, just try to enroll yourself. Bye everyone. Have a great day to you.